Okay, so the Eagles won last week, and it's really been funny to watch that comment section of my prior video because some of the Eagles fans inside agree with me and went, well, Chip Kelly, yada yada, bad coach, basically everything I said in that video. And the other half are going, well, you're just a bandwagon fan. You know what the fuck you're talking about, man. We're in a rebuilding phase. We're not supposed to be in a rebuilding phase. We fired Andy Reid after going 4-12, picked up Chip Kelly, and have gone 10-6 and 9-7. That's not rebuilding. That's called reloading. Reloading is what happens when you take a good team, you lose some key players, and you bring in more guys to replace them. Chip Kelly started his own rebuilding phase by getting rid of those guys in the first place and bringing in projects. But that's not what the purpose of this video is. This is still about the Eagles, but in a different sense. What I mean by that is, last week, after I watched, after I had seen my rant, and I'd gone through my rant, and I posted it, and I got all the flack from the Eagles fans, and some agreements from Eagles fans and Cowboys fans and fans of every other team. I watched the game against the Jets. I picked the Jets to win. I had no faith in the Eagles going into that. I wanted them to win. Believe me, I'm not saying that I have given up on the Eagles. By far, I have not given up on the Eagles. But I just thought that the Jets were gonna outplay them. I wasn't after what I had seen against the Cowboys defense, which isn't as good. I didn't have a reason to pick the Eagles, but I will stand corrected. And God damn it, they played their asses off, and they beat the Jets, and they beat them rather soundly. They beat a very good Jets team soundly. There were still problems though. Bradford wasn't very accurate, but Sproles fumbled. We had a fumble from from Ryan Matthews, but Ryan Matthews has been fumbling his whole career. But overall, the team played very well. That defense looked fantastic, which is the topic of this video. It's which Eagles team am I buying into more? The team that stunk it up against the Cowboys, the team that played really well in the second half against the Falcons before, a missed field goal. And that's another thing I got real in week one. I was tired of people saying the Eagles choked away the win because to me a choke job is if what would have happened if we had won that game. If we had won that game, then Atlanta would have choked because they led for most of the game and they let us back in and they lost. We led for like 3 minutes of that game. Or are we going to start seeing the Eagles from last week? That run game, which I criticized the hell out of in my last video, saying that guys like um, Gardner and Barber couldn't block. Oh my, they played so well. Matthews made them look even better as well. It was just all around a fantastic performance by that team, and it really gave me some positive, some finally we got some more positives and we'll start looking a little bit more like the Eagles team that we were expected to be. And it made me, happy. And when you think about it, with Romo being out, with the Giants being a bit of a clusterfuck, with the Redskins and all of the dysfunction in that organization, the season is far from over. 0-3 would have been a lot harder to justify, but at 1-2, every single team in the division, could end up, leading the division by the end of the week. Cowboys are facing the Saints, backup quarterback, backup. They're facing another backup quarterback, but they're in the Superdome. The Giants, they're facing the Bills in Buffalo. Buffalo could very easily beat the Giants, and the Giants are 1-3. We get to face the Redskins though. So this is kind of like my preview for the Eagles and the Redskins in a way. Because if the Eagles play like they did last week and the momentum carries forward, I know Gardner is out for the year, and Matt Tobin played very well last week. If that all happens, I think the Eagles can win this game. Uh, However, this is going to sound really weird. I have Matt Jones from the Redskins on my fantasy team. So if the Eagles can give up a few more rushing yards, maybe a touchdown to Matt Jones, play a little bit worse in the run game than we did last week against the Jets, I'm okay with that. Uh, but in all seriousness, I think that, stopping the run game is the way to beat the Redskins. If you make them try to beat us with Kirk Cousins, we beat a much better quarterback last week in Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is a much more experienced quarterback, is smarter with his throws, and we still picked him off 3 times. We have a turnover-prone quarterback who's young. He's young, and he makes a lot of mistakes. And Washington, they're looking for Dan Snyder is looking for a game where he can say to Jay Gruden, you know what? Put RG3 back in there. I'm the fucking owner. This may be it. I think if the Eagles can force enough mistakes out of Kirk Cousins, then we see RG3, and I think we're even better off if we face RG3 because we're he's going to make more mistakes because RG3 is going to want to try to show out, and unfortunately, RG3, I'm not afraid to admit it, I missed on RG3, just like I missed on Justin Blackman, just like I missed on Trent Richardson, just like I missed on Geno Smith. I'm not afraid to say this. I think anyone who says, now, well, I knew that RG3, was going to be a bust from the moment they drafted him, is probably likely the same person that went out and bought that jersey. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, I missed on RG3. He can't stay healthy. He's inconsistent. That Redskins organization is a dumpster fire. Hopefully the Eagles can take advantage of that. Um, if we're able to stop the running game, 2-2, and it's always sunny in Philadelphia. It's really good that the Eagles are maybe showing some signs of turning it all around. Um, and kind of getting, are kind of getting those disgruntled fans and those fans that, remember, Philadelphia fans, whether it's Eagles, whether it's the Phillies, whether it's the Sixers, Philadelphia fans are not very patient. They never have been. But there's always time to turn it around. I think this team can turn it around, especially given the fact that our next 2 games are against Washington and not Seattle, not St. Louis. I don't know what the hell I was saying. The Saints, the New Orleans Saints, there's where I was going with that. There's a very good chance that we could hit a 3-game winning streak. This is not a very strong division. This division will send one team to the playoffs, and they will likely be the 4 seed. But if it's if it's the Eagles, then I really do think that we will have actually earned it because we started off so bad and so inefficient and so just awful. But if the game against the Jets is any sign, we're going up in the right direction. Some of these out of conference games, they're going to be out of division games, they're going to be a little bit tougher. But I think the league is starting to sort itself out a little bit. We're seeing the Dolphins are struggling. I think Joe Philbin's probably fired by next week, so we get the Dolphins in a bad situation. Um, we have to face like the Saints and the Bucks, and those are probably 2 wins. It's looking up in the right direction. And, 2 weeks ago, I was thinking that, well, fuck, we're probably sitting in 8-8 territory at best. Likely at around that, 4-12 to 6-10 range. Now I'm starting to look at the schedule, see how the league's shaping out. We still got to face Dallas again before Romo comes back. We could easily be in around that 9-7, 10-6 range. And you know what? That's not a bad range to be in after all. It's still really early in the season. I think, like a lot of people and a lot of Eagles fans, we're not used to slow starts. We're not used to just outright bad games, and it happens to every team. But Eagles fans, we're we're an angry bunch. But if it carries forward, there's going to be all smiles from here. I think that the Eagles do still have what it takes to win the division, and the line's blocking better. Chip Kelly's calling some better plays. Maybe call me crazy. Maybe DeMarco Murray doesn't fit this system as well as everyone thought, and maybe Ryan Matthews may be the best option. You know, the way that our offensive line played last week, it played a lot better with Matthews in the backfield than it did with Murray. Who knows? Still early. Lots of questions to be answered. A lot remains to be seen. But, just wanted to get my thoughts out there. This is a much happier video, still centered around the most hated franchise in the league, maybe. Probably not. But I mean, teams that get hated on are the Patriots and the Cowboys and the Steelers, and yeah, we don't have anywhere near that success, but we probably still get just as much hate. Um, but things are looking up in Philadelphia. I know I've said that a bunch of times, but it's really become the case. I think that this may be the start of a turnaround. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm gonna be watching that game on Sunday, and I'm really, really, really hoping that we come out exactly the way I think. I think that the Eagles are gonna win this one. It was a really tough pick for me to do, um, but I think final score: Eagles 23, Redskins 17. 2-2. What a difference 2 weeks makes.